So let me ask you guys something. How many of you guys have eaten a meal, then felt like you needed a nap, dealt with bloating that just showed up, or just felt like your body wasn't keeping up? So type in the chat, one for bloating, two for energy crashes after meals, three if you just knew something was off. And yes, Dr. Mariana can see your responses.
I've definitely experienced all three of those.
Oh yeah, me too.
That's often why in training I would skip meals a lot because it would affect, performance.
Oh, look at that. So we have two, lots of twos. Well, you guys are not alone. That is exactly why we are here tonight. So as we go, feel free to drop your questions in the chat anytime or hold them for the question and answer after Dr. Mariana's presentation. So that is entirely up to you. And by the way, my name is Janet and I am your host today. And the real information from our real doctor. So with no pressure and excitement, let me introduce you guys to the person you guys are actually here to see, Dr. Mariana.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So let's get started. I'm just going to make sure you guys see my screen. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the bloated brain, and that's not just a metaphor, it is real biology. So that's what the main topic of today's discussion, and something we've all kind of shared, that after a big meal you might feel a little bit foggy, like you can't finish a thought, or maybe like your brain just wants to shut down or a nap. So that's, actually a very normal response, and there's a good explanation for that. A lot of people, might blame the carbs, the wine, or even just getting older. But what's actually happening is that our gut and our brain are in constant conversation with one another. They communicate through the vagus nerve, through hormones, and through metabolites that are produced by all the bacteria in our gut. And scientists call this our gut brain axis. And it's actually one of the most active areas of research and medicine right now. So, that post meal brain fog that we all experience, it's not laziness, it's your gut talking to your brain. And unfortunately, it's our brain losing the argument. So today we're going to discuss, break down exactly why this happens and what you can do about it. So now that we know kind of what's today's topic, let's find out how common it is. So did you guys know that 1 in 5 adults report weekly bloating? It's actually the third most common GI symptom in America that we see from patients. And another fun fact is that over half of those people who report weekly regular bloating also report brain fog. And that's not a coincidence, that's a signal. In science and in medicine, when you see a pattern that's consistent, there's usually a mechanism behind it. And as I had briefly mentioned, that mechanism is our gut brain axis. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, before we jump into the science, a little bit about me and why am I qualified to speak with you today. So, very briefly, I'm a medical physician. I'm an osteopathic medical physician with postgraduate training in general surgery as well as functional medicine. I also have a master's degree in biomedical sciences with an emphasis in cancer biology. So, I want you to think of me as your translator between what the research actually says and what you can do about it. And very briefly, before we dive into the science, just some quick disclaimers for transparency. So, I am an employee of LifeArm, so I do have a financial connection to the company. I am also a licensed medical physician, meaning that I cannot give you medical advice, and all information and products we discuss are solely to support your health and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease, and should not be used as a substitute for diagnosis and treatment by your personal physician. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the science. Give me one moment. There we go. So let's talk about what the problem is. So the problem is gut dysbiosis drives brain fog. But before we jump into any more information, what is gut dysbiosis? I like to think of our gut as real estate. There's only so much inventory. And ideally, you want beneficial bacteria to occupy more space than harmful ones. And dysbiosis is what happens when there's an imbalance between our good bacteria and harmful bacteria. And unfortunately, when this happens, things like diet, age, genetics, and medications can trigger this imbalance. And when that happens, unfortunately, our brain pays the price. And our brain pays the price in three key steps that build on one another. So the first step that happens is, let me go back, is loss of short chain fatty acids. So what are short chain fatty acids? The good bacteria in our gut is considered good bacteria because it does one very important thing. It actually does a lot of things, but the most important thing that our good bacteria does is it makes these short chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate. These short chain fatty acids are fuel for our cells of our gut lining. They're also anti-inflammatory. So they not only protect both our gut lining, they also protect our brain. And so when dysbiosis happens and there's an imbalance between our good and bad bacteria, you make less of these short chain fatty acids. And this is what starts all of this cascade in motion. So once, dysbiosis sets in, we produce less short chain fatty acids, then we have less good bacteria. And step 2 unfortunately starts to happen. And step 2 is a breakdown of our blood-brain barrier. So what is our blood-brain barrier? Our blood-brain barrier is a security wall that keeps toxins and pathogens out of our brain. When the concentration of these short chain fatty acids like butyrate, when their production drops, that wall, the blood-brain barrier, weakens. And so things that should never reach your brain start getting through. So that's kind of the second step of this process. And lastly, because our blood-brain barrier is weakened, this now allows for harmful signals to get through. And that's what kind of causes what we know or call neuroinflammation. So neuroinflammation is when the bad bacteria, they start to produce molecules that cause inflammation. One of those molecules is called LPS, lipopolysaccharide. You don't need to memorize that. But essentially, when things like LPS can get through a weakened gut wall, can get into our bloodstream, and then can get into our central nervous system. This activates the immune cells in our central nervous system. And once those immune cells are activated in your brain, it starts to shift resources. All of the resources in your brain are going to go to protecting, the functionality and focusing on ramping up immune cells. And so this is why when you have neuroinflammation, it is associated with reduced what we call cognition, or the brain fog that you experience. So that difficulty with word finding, issues with short-term memory, it's all that happens because your brain is running damage control. It is focusing all its efforts on producing these cells and not supporting cognition. And so now that we know kind of how this happens, the key takeaway is when you address the gut, you also address the brain. Okay, and so that's the whole kind of essence of today's discussion. So we know what causes dysbiosis. We know a little bit about what happens or why it happens. So what can we do about it? And here's the good news. We're not talking about a complete life overhaul. No prescriptions, no expensive testing, but we have designed 3 targeted tools in one protocol. So all of these 3 products can work together to address the gut-brain connection at the cellular level. And now I will walk you through each one. The first product that is really the anchor of this whole protocol is our Digestive 3+. So this is our synbiotic. So what is a synbiotic? Just by definition, a synbiotic is a probiotic as well as a prebiotic in one. So I like to think of it as the prebiotic is a living organisms. So that is the probiotic is a living organisms. Imagine that as like a seed, and the prebiotic is the fertilizer. The prebiotic serves to provide food for our gut bacteria, and it helps them produce more short chain fatty acids. So they can work on their own, but they always work better together. And so now let's jump into a little bit more detail. The thing I wanted to highlight was the type of probiotic strain that is specifically used in this product, which is the Bacillus coagulans. This has actual clinical trial data. It was shown to reduce inflammatory markers. So that's very important, meaning that it can suppress some of that process that we know that weakens our gut wall, weakens our blood-brain barrier, and can kind of onset some of that brain fog. So very important. Also, I wanted to add that there have been clinical studies that have demonstrated that Bacillus coagulans is one of the best types of probiotic strains to help support bloating. In a clinical study, it demonstrated that it was the best strain to reduce bloating and GI symptoms, specifically in patients or subjects with inflammatory bowel syndrome. That's a very difficult inflammatory condition to control. So definitely great, strong results supporting why it's in this product. And another very important component is not only do we just have prebiotics in it, we have a specific type of prebiotic blend, so the inulin blend. There have been preclinical studies as well as clinical trials that have substantiated or shown that inulin can actually strengthen the blood-brain barrier by increasing the proteins that hold the wall together. So that is very important. Not only does it help, produce and feed the bacteria and help produce more butyrate, it specifically helps with those proteins that keep those junctions nice and tight. And lastly, probably one of the most important results or benefits of this product is that it amplifies the production of butyrate. So why does butyrate matter so much? Very briefly, when you talk about probiotics, that's something you want to communicate is how that whether or not a product produces butyrate. Butyrate is a primary fuel source for our gut lining. It also has been shown in preclinical studies to suppress inflammation directly, neuroinflammation by calming immune system activation. It also reinforces the blood-brain barrier by increasing the proteins that bind those cells together and help keep toxins out. So again, this is a synergistic blend of ingredients that not only can address some of the main kind of causes of brain fog and gut-brain axis dysfunction on their own, they actually work together and can make the benefits even stronger. So that's what's so important about butyrate is it's not just a gut compound, it's a brain protective compound that happens to be made in your gut. So that's the key takeaway. More butyrate, a calmer brain. That's the symbiotic advantage of having both a prebiotic with inulin and a great strain of a probiotic. All right, so that's the main anchor. So you definitely want to feel comfortable communicating why this is important for someone who may be having brain fog and GI symptoms. Next, the next tool of our protocol is the laminine. So laminine, I'm sure we're all familiar with it, but for those who may be joining us for the first time, one of the key ingredients in our laminine is FGF2, our fibroblast growth factor 2. So that's a mouthful. But in plain English, FGF2 is a repair signal. And all of this information is for transparency is based off of preclinical research, so animal studies and cell studies. But the first thing that we have noted that the research has showed is that laminine, or FGF2 specifically, is important for gut lining integrity. So what does that mean? I like to think of your gut lining as a screen door. If it has holes in it or holes get too large from inflammation, things that you don't want to get through that screen door get through. And that's where FGF2 helps. It can potentially patch those holes, promoting repair and renewal of cells and renewing the cells that line your gut wall. Another important finding that has been demonstrated by research is it can support your gut, what we call kind of our gut brain. So, this is what we call in science our enteric nervous system. Your gut has its own nervous system, and as I had mentioned, it's called our second brain. If you can imagine, we have this large nerve from which we call our vagus nerve. It goes from our abdomen all the way up to our brain. Think of that as our major highway. So the highway that connects your gut to your brain. FGF2 helps maintain the on ramps, helps maintain the road. So you have to imagine when your cells are healthy, the signal is clear. But when they degrade, communication breaks down. So you can imagine that FGF2 helps repair some of those roadways, maintains the entry and exits to that main highway. If we don't have exits or entry points on our highway, these signals can't get on or get off. So it'll essentially stop all communication. That's why the laminin is such a great additional foundational component. And the main takeaway for the laminin is that it will help support a healthy gut barrier, and a healthy gut barrier is the foundation of a healthy brain. And lastly, our third tool, and this one's unique because it's one of our newer products, but also has a lot of great, interesting clinical and preclinical research. And this is our Cellnergy water bottle. What makes our Cellnergy water bottle so unique is that it combines, three types of technology. But in the context of gut health, what is really important is that it's a diffuser that can enrich your water with molecular hydrogen. Molecular hydrogen is a very small molecule. It's a very potent antioxidant. The very interesting thing about molecular hydrogen is that it can cross every barrier in the body. It's a small little gas, so it can get to places where other antioxidants can't. And it also has some unique health benefits. One of the most important health benefits in the context of your GI health and your gut-brain barrier has been shown in clinical studies to shift your gut microbiota composition. So what does that mean? That means that the molecular hydrogen can actually help transition or help your body when it's in dysbiosis and support that good bacteria to help regrow and recolonize your gut lining. And additionally, another important finding is it's been shown in preclinical studies to reduce stress-related immune activation. So immune activation, when anytime our immune system gets activated, what follows is inflammation. So whenever we can calm our nervous system, we can calm inflammation. And so animal studies have demonstrated that molecular hydrogen may be capable of reducing that inflammation. Additionally, it's not included on here, but I just wanted to briefly mention it, was that there was a randomized clinical study. So that's one of the higher levels of evidence when we talk about, health benefits. And it was shown that drinking water infused with molecular hydrogen could significantly improve memory recall in individuals who are experiencing memory impairment. So definitely a great, easy way to integrate additional brain protection. So very, very important to consume hydrogen water, and what makes it so interesting is that it addresses both ends of the gut-brain barrier axis. It addresses inflammation in the gut and inflammation in the brain. And so the key takeaway with the hydrogen water is that clean water can lead to clearer signals and clearer thinking. And now that kind of covers all of our products. Let's pull it all together. And so we designed a brief little protocol for you guys so that you can easily communicate how do we use these products, what are some of the benefits, or what would people expect to experience. And so this is what we have come up with for you. So a little bit of a busy slide, but it gives you all the information that you need right in front of you. So directions and also kind of what to expect. When it comes to the Digestive 3 Plus, it can what the studies have demonstrated is that bloating relief may happen within, it may take up to 1 to 2 weeks for you to experience, for someone to experience bloating relief. Additionally, what the clinical studies show us is that brain fog can improve anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks. Okay, so that's why it's very important not to quit before then. Everyone's body is different. Whether it takes you 4 weeks, 2 weeks, or 12 weeks, or even longer, that depends on your body. So that's why it's very important to, for one, know how to track progress. And we'll get into that for the next slide. But I just wanted to mention Laminin is the foundational component, so it works to support overall well-being, and it works best as part of a full protocol. And lastly, I wanted to highlight the Celnergy water bottle. Per the clinical studies, they suggest you drink approximately 1,000 milliliters of the hydrogen-infused water. The amount of hydrogen is that our bottle makes, anywhere from 0.2 to around 0.5. That matched the amount that was in some of those clinical studies. So you don't have to worry about how much hydrogen's in it. The bottle kind of covers you there. Just make sure that you're drinking that amount, that 1,000 milliliters. And it may take up to 8 weeks for that water to help shift your microbiome. Okay, so you just want to be aware of that. So now that we kind of covered the protocol, let's talk about some of the tools that we designed for you. So most people quit before results happen because they don't notice the small wins. So we have designed these tools to help you, to help your customers identify some of those small wins, okay? So the first step that I want you to do, or to tell your customers to do, is you need to record a baseline. We do this in traditional clinical medicine as well. You always want to create a starting point, because for one, how do you know if something's working if you don't know where you started? How do you measure, where you're going? So very important, complete all 3 tools 3 to 5 days prior to starting this protocol. And we've designed a couple of very easy tracking tools for you. So a daily GI diary. So we suggest that you rate your bloating, and we anywhere from 1 to 10. You also want to note stool type, and you also want to know frequency. This takes about 30 seconds to complete this. And just so you know, we have made these protocols or these handouts available to you guys, okay? So you'll be able to print those out and take a look at exactly what those charts show you, so you can easily share it, do it yourself, or share it with your customers. And so on a weekly basis, we also want you to measure your brain fog scale. So again, very simple, 5 questions, score, you give yourself a score out of 20. And lastly, every month, we want you to do a gut brain wellness or well-being check. Another very brief questionnaire, 10 questions, you get a score out of 40, okay? And so that's the whole way we want you to manage this, is get your baseline, record daily, notice if there was any changes in your stool frequency or your bloating after eating. Weekly measure your how you feel in terms of your cognition, and then always just do a monthly wellness check as well. And so that's kind of our complete protocol. Again, just to reiterate, record your baseline, start the protocol, and then measure the difference, okay? And then this is another important thing I just wanted to mention, is you have to know how to track it. And then once you know how to track it, you also have to have realistic expectations, not only for yourself, but for your customers. So what does improvement look like? Okay, and that's something that you want to be able to communicate as well. So on a week basis, again, everyone's body is different. Everyone may experience this timeline or these health benefits on a different timeline. That's okay. So that's why you want to understand what are the expectations. So on a week, in the first couple of weeks, the most important things that you want to look out for are less bloating, less gas after meals. This is when the enzymes and the digestive 3 plus will kick in. This is when you'll start to experience some shifts. But that's what you're going to look for. Bloating, are you having discomfort? Is that improving? You're going to do this with your tracker. Next thing that, it takes anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks for the microbiome to shift. Okay, so this is when you might start experiencing an improvement in cognitive function, energy, things of that nature. And lastly, it may even take up to 12 weeks to see good or strong improvements in brain fog. And that's because it takes that amount of time. You have to not only shift your microbiome, that what literature tells us is that takes at least about 8 weeks to shift your microbiome. And then you have to give it time to start healing your gut, producing those short chain fatty acids. So that's why you may not experience those improvements in brain fog until after the 12-week point. Okay, so those are the realistic expectations. It's not a magic pill. It's not going to fix everything overnight. So you want to be aware of that, and that's the key thing with not only just supplements in general, but your health overall. It takes time to heal, and you want to give your body that time to heal and adjust appropriately. Okay, and so, again, key takeaway is that none of this works if you don't make the healthy lifestyle changes as well. Okay, so this protocol works with your lifestyle, not instead of it. Okay, and this even applies to medications. You can't just rely on the supplement or the medication. If you want optimal results, you always want to pair it with lifestyle changes. So you'll see improvements, with medication or with this protocol, but you may not have your best results if you're not also, doing the positive lifestyle changes. You want to make sure that you're sleeping. You want to make sure that you're eating healthy to get the benefit. Okay, and so that's key takeaway here is you always want to educate people. Live a healthy lifestyle, use this as an adjunct to a healthy lifestyle, and be consistent about it. Okay, and so lastly, this is you can scan the code to get the gut brain tracking protocol. So that's going to be the 3 documents to help you set your baseline and track your improvements. Okay, so I'll leave that up for a couple seconds. Something that I just wanted to mention very briefly was that if one of your customers or you yourself actually start to experience worsening bloating during this time, you may have another condition. Okay, so that's why it's important to track your symptoms or your response, because if the bloating gets worse, you want to stop this protocol, because there's some individuals who have something called SIBO, or small intestinal bowel overgrowth, where the bacteria in our colon or large intestine creeps up into the small intestine. So when that happens, that when you take prebiotics, that can worsen it. Okay, so that's why it's very important to track those symptoms. Okay, and lastly, here are the references for anyone who wants to do a deeper dive on the research. This is the full reference list of all the studies that I discussed today, or where I pulled my data from. So everything is that I shared tonight is from published literature. And again, that about wraps it up for me. And before we close and get into the question and the Q&A portion, I don't see any questions in the chat. So what I would love to ask is, in the last few weeks, has anyone experienced any, for one, have they had any benefits, or if they want to talk about any of the health benefits from any of the Life Farm products? Would love to hear your stories, and please feel free. And again, so we'll wait to see if anyone is interested in sharing their stories before we go into the Q&A. Let me stop. Let me see if I can see if there's any hands up or anyone that wants to share a story or any of their benefits. Well, since I'm not seeing anyone who wants to share a story about how Life Farm products have helped them, does anyone have any questions? Feel free to turn on your camera or jump on your mic, or you can drop it in that chat.
Oh, Dr. Maria, we have Daniel here. He has something to say. Daniel, you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Very good slides, and I will share those with my group. I've had the water bottle for a little over a week now,
Mhm.
and we had our first really hot day, and I was out working with my mother-in-law with transplanting some plants that needed bigger places to grow, and
Mhm.
um, I was really sweating, and that water bottle, you can tell the difference from what I was doing before. So that infuser is really incredible. And the other thing, the digestive product, I have that with my big main. We have our my wife is from Chile, so in South America, the culture is a little different. They have their big meal in the middle of the day and then a light meal in the evening. And so I take one of those digestive, and it really does help. I don't have the problems that I used to have. I used to get tired in the afternoon. So thank you.
Again, thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing your story. So, those are the things that we love to hear. Those are some of the things that you're going to want to look out for when you start using the water bottle or start using this protocol. Those are some of the things you want to track. How is your afternoon energy? Are you still getting that crash, or are you having an improvement in that? So, again, thank you so much for sharing your story. I appreciate it.
By the way, with my phone, the QR scanner, it said there the link is inactive, but when you click on the link that the company put in the chat, that link works.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll definitely fix that for you because it's very important that you get those tracking tools. That's really how you're going to assess, is this working for you, and definitely a great tool to share. So we want to make sure that you guys get that and that you and find them easy to use. So again, if you like them, please always let us know. We are open to feedback. If you find them too difficult, let us know as well, and we can always adjust those. But those are clinical tools that we use in clinical practice. So things that I want to share with you guys, tools that I use for my patients as well.
Is there anyone else who has a story they would love to share about Digestive 3 Plus and their experience? I'll give it a second here. Taking a look. All right.
Hand up.
All right. It looks like that's all we have for sharing your stories. All right. Now, do you have questions? Let's get to the good stuff. So if you have a question, go ahead and um, turn on your video. That will give me an indication that you have a question.
Oh, I did see Kasia had her hand up earlier. Did you want to share a story or did you have a question? Hi. Oh, I think you're muted.
Hi, Kasia. Thank you for, yeah, go ahead. Yes, we can hear you now.
Mhm. Thank you so much for sharing. And just for me to share, thank you. Everyone's results may vary, but what Kasia was explaining was that she had a candidiasis, which is when some Candida, which is a type of fungus that naturally lives on our skin. When we have a breakdown of our gut barrier, some of that can get into our bloodstream and can cause lots of symptoms. And so, one of the ways to kind of address that is to heal our gut. And as we had discussed in this webinar, when that gut barrier weakens, and holes happen in that screen that's supposed to keep things out, that can, things that we don't want in our bloodstream or going to our brain, will get there. So thank you for sharing your positive results with using the Digestive Plus and the Laminine. And thank you for sharing that story. And does anyone have any questions, concerns?
Oh, I don't see that anyone else has one. Um,
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for me. If you can think of something that you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat, and I can always answer it at a later date. Again, thank you all for your time and attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mariana. We appreciate your time. We always learn something brand new anytime you join us here in the webinar. So we definitely have a deep appreciation for you.
Oh, I see the Daniel.
Oh,
I think that
oh
was my.
wait.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, go
I just thought I saw an
ahead.
extra question. I just wanted to make sure I answered all the questions before I head out. All right. If there's no questions, again, it's always my pleasure. And again, I just wanted to reiterate, we do these for you. So any feedback you want to give it, we appreciate good, bad, the ugly. No, thank you. And especially when it comes to the tools, please let us know because we do these for you. We want to help you understand the science. We want to help you be able to communicate the science and help grow your business. So if you don't feel that this is helping you, or you feel like it is, please let me know and we can always do our best to make some changes for you. Again, always my pleasure, and you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, doctor. All right, guys. So here's what I want you to do before anything else. Let's see here. One moment here. All right. So as you can see here that we did promise you guys a discount. So if you add the Gut Brain Reset Pack to your cart, the Digestive 3 Plus 120 count and Laminin 30 count with the free Digestive 30 count, that typically retails at 286. So when you use our Gut Brain 15 for your 15% off, that brings it down to 178. And then we also have something available to our European friends. So if you're joining us here from Europe, you also have your own discount as well. That for Digestive 3 Plus 120 count and with the Cell Energy bottle, with the free second Cell Energy bottle. And that discount code ends May 6th. So you actually only have 48 hours, and that is exclusive to every person who showed up today. So you are the only one that has that code. So we only have one code. So do not wait. Make sure you jump on that discount. So whose face came to mind while Dr. Mariana was talking tonight? Type their name in the chat. And just a reminder, the recording of tonight's call will be posted on our YouTube channel. So go and subscribe right now so you're notified the moment this goes live. And then once again on the screen, there is the Gut Brain 15 discount code. To our RBOs, thank you for bringing your people. And That is what this community is built on. And to every guest, thank you for your time. Drop any order questions in the chat, and our team will help you tonight. And this is another reminder, Gut Brain 15 at checkout ends May 6th. Take care of yourselves and have a great rest of the day. And we look forward to speaking to all of you really soon.